Quakers rejoice as we're back plugged in for some more action from the Stage 2 finals, live from Katowice, Poland, as we move on for another exciting series. Vengeurr will be coming to the stage to see what damage he can cause on the server with that fantastic pop music that always gets everyone hyped up. Hopefully that will shine through in his gameplay. He likes to be a little bit of a party animal, but he faces off versus Xron. A lot more aggressive, a lot more metal, and I think that does reign true with his playstyle as well. Dan, two big dogs. When it comes down to their individual skill and literally just their aiming capabilities, these two should have a bloodbath on their hands.
Mate, there's like, out of all the players here, with all the names here, I think the one player I'm looking out for this event is Vengeurr.
Yeah?
I think he's come on so far, very new still, has that new shine, and I think that helps him in his play. But in terms of all-round skill, when he clicks, he's the full package for me. Like Rocket, he's kind of like a reinvigorated, newer version of Cypher in some ways. Like great positioning, amazing rocket. Some people say like the best in the scene. Lightning gun and rail, again, exceptional, and just all-round play is solid. And speaking to him, he's insanely confident.
I think a lot of people also feel like he really deserved it. He's come close to glory so many times, but it always seems to go wrong just when he enters the top 5 or the top 4 best players of a tournament, and then it just all starts falling apart. So hopefully for him, this is like the real breakthrough.
Yeah, I think it needs to be. You know, we've seen a lot of really promising results from him. Literally every time we see this man, not only is he exciting, but he gets the job done consistently.
Exactly, and that consistency needs to come through now onto land. And it's not like it hasn't before, but as Flea just said, right, that he gets to that stage in the tournament and then things just seem to change. Maybe it's him overthinking it, over-analyzing, whatever it is, but he needs to bring that consistency throughout the tournament. And he's definitely in a state in his head now where he's at least acting as if he's ready for that. And you can see the results here once again. Like, beyond the expected games you would say he would lose, Razy, Kilson, Cooler, were all 2-1s.
Yeah.
And they all were very, very close. They could have gone either way. I remember the Razy game distinctly. Could have won all 3. It could have been a 3-0. The rest of it, yeah, he beats around 3-0.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you look at the very top, his last matchup against Xron at the start of Stage 2 was a very convincing 3-0 win, so it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to be any different today. But Xron so far managed to successfully defend his position in the Quake Pro League. He gets to stay at least for another season, or another stage, rather. But it's going to be very interesting to see, because Xron, how do you feel about his shape?
Like, he looked good, right?
Before we get into that, 1 second. Have you seen this mouse mat that is in play?
It's hilarious, right?
That's absolutely ridiculous.
The kitty. Look at that.
My goodness.
Wow. If Xron doesn't win just based off that, I would be shocked. Hopefully that gives him some extra intimidation.
He gets like the gentleman's trophy, though.
Yeah.
It's a trying trophy.
We'll give him a wooden spoon at the end
That's
of the
the
event.
one I'm looking for.
Yeah, looking at his stats, though, a little less convincing.
Well, this is exactly what we said at the start of the show about Xron, right? Is that he was kind of touted, whatever you want to say, as the next big thing, or at least a contender for top 4, top 6 placements. And he's just not lived up to that for whatever reason. He's got some decent results. Like, he's beat Razy.
Yeah.
How? Like, he beat Abek again. How? He's a very, very good player, but then he goes and just loses 3-0 to CNZ and Vengeurr, which is more expected. Earlier today, amazing shots, looks a lot more carefree. When I spoke to him afterwards, I said, well, really well played. He was like, oh, was it? It's like, didn't really feel that great. So you never know with him. Like, if he wants to play well, he'll turn up and he will play well.
Yeah, I was talking to him earlier as well, and he said, like, yeah, now I'm gonna take some good time to practice over the next few weeks and then get ready for Stage 3 finals. And I was like, man,
you're here now.
We're here now. Why not
the tournament?
Because he literally used the word and then wreck Stage 3 finals, and I said, why don't you wreck today? Wreck right here, right now, and hopefully he can bring that to the table.
I just feel that he doesn't believe in himself. Right? I think he doubts himself. He doesn't appreciate how good he is, and he obviously absolutely loves and thrives in the team environment, but it's not the same pressure. Your part is not the same pressure as a duel. And I think that dueling environment, he hasn't adapted fully to that, to embrace it, if you will.
Yeah, I suppose it is a much different environment, obviously having to learn to adapt purely based on your own. There's no one to fall back on. It's all about your individual skill. We do have the veto for this series as well, so let's crack that bad boy open and see what the situation is.
Yeah, maps will be Awoken, Molten Falls, and then Veil for the decider if we get to it. We're going to see Vengeurr versus Galena on the first map. Awoken, a very interesting map for Galena. Lots of places where she can nicely hide her totems and then get that overstack going. But Vengeurr, of course, the mobility. There's a lot of places where you can use the orb to very quickly get from one side of the map to the other.
It's an exciting matchup, and particularly we know Vengeurr likes to play aggressive, and I can see him using that in very creative ways, but at the same time, Xron, he's also pretty creative, and I'm interested to see what he does with those totems. We've seen, obviously, Razy and Vengeurr in the past using it in those ways. So that's, yeah, it's I don't, again, favour one or the other. I think they have their merits on both stages. I think, for me, Vengeurr slightly more favours the way Vengeurr plays and perhaps the way Galena suits Xron. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
That's my gut feeling for that one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get what you mean, yeah.
What is your heart saying based on who's going to walk away, and if I can get a scoreline as well?
I mean, if Xron can really play his best, he could take this, but I just don't know. Like that talk I had earlier with him where he was already thinking about stage 3
Do you think it's purely based on the fact then that his confidence just isn't there? He's too much in his own head?
I think so, absolutely. I think that's been an issue for Xron for like forever, right? He's got what it takes. Look back at Quake, right? That's the reason why he ended up in relegation today, but so far QuakeCon was a really good showing, and then ever since in the online stages it just hasn't kind of been going downhill ever since. But still, he's got what it takes, but I thought he'll be able to bring it today.
I agree with that. I'm expecting a 2-0 Vengeurr. I can see it going 2-0 Xron. I can more realistically see it going 2-1 Vengeurr, but I'm going to side with 2-0.
Well, let's see who will take it as we get into this best of 3 between Vengeurr and Xron.
Starting off on Vengeurr's point of view, he's gonna favor the heavy side. A good opening rail. Mega is still up there. Is he gonna warp for it? He actually could. But then again, the LG is punishing him already. He does manage to steal away the Mega health. Xron did manage to do a decent amount of damage right there with the LG. Obviously, Vengeurr didn't really have any decent weapon to contest with at that range. But the rails are good. The damage is there. He just needs to get an LG.
Exactly, and he's overall come out much better on top here. He's in position for the heavy. He's setting up well, gets it cleanly, and unless Xron does something urgently, he's got no foothold on this map. And Vengeurr has a really great push, and we already see the creativity coming out with that Ranger and the aggression that Vengeurr likes to bring.
That's such a nice combination. Rocket into orb into rocket, and then just you press the button, you teleport over, and you get the frag. Vengeurr also doing a really good job at taking care of those totems littered around the map, because of course you don't want to leave 3 of them up at once, or your opponent basically has a
good read by
Vengeurr
there. That's painful for Xron. He's stuck, but Vengeurr does back off to make sure he gets map control cleanly. Jumps across to that Mega because it is up on 6 or 7 second split.
Feels like a bit of a missed opportunity for Vengeurr though, because he completely caught Xron off guard and he actually did take a decent amount of damage himself. And Xron really not struggling that hard right now. He's outstacked, absolutely. He's not in control, but he's hanging on.
No, and it's just the way Vengeurr, I guess, perceives the game. Much rather keep control, play the basics, confident that he can do it again, catch him off guard, or at least if they meet, he will be the one to deal more damage. So as long as you're maintaining that item rotation, it's not worth the risk of overcommitting this early into the game. We can see using the rocket jumps aggressively. So again, a good use of the range we haven't talked about a lot, particularly around both major items, either getting out of heavy armor or getting up to Mega. Both very useful.
Oh yeah, of course, because Vengeurr has got that passive ability that means that he takes less damage from his own rockets and explosives, so he can obviously rocket jump around a lot more freely than some of the other champions.
Exactly.
Vengeurr now good control of the center map, gives him an excellent base of operations.
What a
rails. Here we go. Xron does drop the totem to heal himself right back up.
Oh, nice! I'm really enjoying the use of full Ranger's kit so far. The rocket jumps, the aggressiveness and the speed coming out. At the minute, Xron can't play to it, and this is what we talked about in terms of Galena versus Ranger. It definitely suits the way Vengeurr wants to play better, and at the minute, he is on fire.
He is making it look so easy too. He's just like, let me just flick one rocket, two rocket, okay, and a rail, and there we go. It's another frag for me. He's not even breaking a sweat taking down Xron like this, and he's got a perfect rotation going on. So gotta be careful about that LG when you rocket jump up there though, but no problems just yet. Even lands a good rail. Xron back to the drawing board a little. Can't really contest for the heavy.
It doesn't feel like Xron has laid a glove on Vengeurr at the minute. It's just all one-way traffic. And you can't emphasize it much, anywhere near as much about how important momentum is in dueling.
Yeah. Vengeurr does miss out on the heavy right there, though. Even though he had the setup, I don't think he had the exact timing.
That's super risky. It's not going to pay off at all. He does quite a lot of damage, but not enough, as Vengeurr can back off, restack, and pick up a light armor.
I also see a lot of confidence in that engagement, because Vengeurr could have used the orb to basically ensure him getting the frag earlier, but he figured, or knew, that his aim, his LG, would just be good enough and didn't even need to use the ability for that one.
I don't know what the thought process was with Xron. I mean, it's slightly risky for this stage in the game. He was only 3 frags down. There was no need to overcommit to that degree. Oh, that was close.
Yeah, little late on the follow-up though. Could have gotten the frag if he was a bit sooner, but won't be able to get the explosion off in time.
But what Xron has done is secured map control now.
Yep, and he is going to make use of it too. Barely hanging on with literally 1 single point of health. But Xron, is this the start of a comeback? Can he make something happen with his newfound control? Heavy will be going his way, but Vengeurr actually was outstacking him even after that change of control. Good rails out of Vengeurr, but Xron immediately responds in kind.
Stabilizing now as they both settle into their rhythm. Trade the major items. Vengeurr coming off slightly better, but that's a good rail.
I like the read, good read from Xron as well, that Vengeurr was going to go for that specific angle.
Rocket.
Yeah, both players railable right now. Xron's got to be careful. Heavy will be going to Vengeurr. Xron perhaps a bit too passive right now. The Italian, is he going to make a push on Mega? I don't think he's got the exact timing, so he's just going to slow things down a little bit. He knows he's 3 frags in the lead, half a map left. He doesn't have to do anything crazy right now. Looks like that's exactly what he's got in his mind as well.
No, they're both playing slightly more tactfully than they did in the first few minutes. Vengeurr is being clipped left, right, and center when he tries to get in position to deal damage. So it's good awareness by Xron to make sure these items are secured.
Mega will be going to Vengeurr. Xron pushing in aggressively again. This worries me. Again, the rocket jump when he's got plenty of time to work with.
But what Vengeurr's doing particularly well is he's making sure he's got a presence. Yes, he's not stealing the items, but he's committing to the area, and so it's forcing Xron to make these risky moves, and in return, Vengeurr's doing exponential amounts of damage to Xron, and as a result, he's now stolen away that Mega.
I also don't know about all these rocket jumps for Xron. He's doing a decent amount of self-damage. Like,
yeah,
if you keep track of it over time, he's just like, okay, I picked up this small armor, I'm gonna rocket jump away. That's 25 of those armor pieces gone.
The only thinking I might be able to suggest is that he's using the totems to restack that missing health.
Right.
But at the same time, he's still losing armor, which isn't being restacked. So it is, I don't know, it's a trade.
Yeah. But with 3.5 minutes left on the clock, the pressure is starting to mount on Xron. Gets a bit of good information right there. 10 damage.
We have pretty much even items now. So they're both content to stay on their side of the map, but Vengeurr is the one controlling the middle ground. So Xron has to skirt the outsides, trying to make a move on the middle ground. He definitely knows where he is, because that's the same position he's had for the last 2 minutes. And now he has managed to gain better map positioning.
And Vengeurr is perfectly happy to engage in these kind of standoffs, right? Because the time is on his side, so he's like, oh, you want to stand here for 15 seconds and just exchange a few rockets without any damage? Okay, sure. I'm fine with that. Let's burn some more seconds on the clock.
Vengeurr wants to fight on his terms. So he's going to hold these positions in and around choke points. This time he...
Oh, the LG is looking
so early. Is he mistimed that?
I don't know. Maybe he was just too confident in his own abilities, but that is giving Xron a lifeline that he didn't have before. things might be looking up for the Ukrainian player now.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who's been playing so careful for the last 2 or 3 minutes, just to stand in a one-on-one man fight without any need when you're in the lead, slightly out of character.
That rocket's gonna maybe slow him down a little bit. Vengeurr, can he get out?
He got pushed up.
I actually think so too, yeah.
Doesn't matter, Xron is coming back now. 2 minutes remaining, 1 frag in it, full control.
This is entirely possible for Xron. Now he is the one in control of the center area of the map. Vengeurr's got a pretty good idea of where he's at, but Xron knows the timings, his opponent does not. Here we go. Can he land some real damage? Heavy is up.
Heavy is up, and Xron has perfect control now. And there's 15 seconds between the major items. So if Xron is able to secure some nice damage, he's got a perfect split for the last minute of the map.
Problem is that it's difficult to chase down a ranger when you're Galena. You don't have any specific movement capabilities, whereas obviously you're going up against someone who can basically rocket jump with impunity, and he's got the orb. So very tricky for Xron to chase down his opponent, and he's only got a little over a minute left.
No, but it is a lot of time. He's got a huge stack. Vengeurr is, to his credit, not showing himself and not taking any damage, meaning he does got a good fighting stack if there is a fight out to break.
1 minute warning.
Xron missed opportunity right there. Yeah, he needs to land these shots.
He's got the overstack up though, so if he does take damage, he can fall back to completely reinforce himself.
There we go. Those are some good rails. Oh no, Vengeurr caught in the back. What?
How?
Oh no, Xron's reaction too. How did that even happen? The orb. I think that must have been a full damage coming out of the orb right there.
Has to have been. The damage was insane because Xron had like 250 health roughly.
Yeah, seemed like it. My God.
I think it was a full orb, full rocket.
Yeah, that's desperation mode. He knows he has to push in right then and there. And I think that's going to spell GG if Vengeurr gets this one for sure. That'll be map 1 going to the Italian.
After such a dominating start by Vengeurr, Xron came back with a vengeance and took full control. Really impressive display from both players.
Yeah. Absolutely. Vengeurr looking pretty decent, I would say. The aim, as always, is of course superb. Maybe the decision-making, the positioning sometimes not as good. Gave Xron perhaps a few too many opportunities, but nevertheless, congrats.
Congrats. I think there was only one mistake that we could point out, which was the overcommittal in that one-on-one lightning gun fight.
Yeah.
Apart from that, the first 3 or 4 minutes of this game were essentially a textbook on how to play this particular map, particularly with Ranger.
Yeah.
Apart from that, after that mistake was made, Xron capitalized really well. Held control strong, hit his shots better than Vengeurr, and forced some really good fights.
Yeah, Vengeurr's rockets.
Mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why he was there. Was he expecting Mega to spawn? Was he off by 15 seconds? Because that's such an enormous mistime if that were to be the case. Or was he just thinking that his opponent didn't have the same kind of stack? And yeah, look at that confusion. Xron's reaction, you can tell. He knew it was over right then and there. Yeah, map 1 going to Vengeurr. I think that's what we were
Vengeurr's
expecting.
home map. He doesn't have his home champion, which is traditionally Doom. Nevertheless, showing his prowess on there, a good balance in terms of his overall defensive and offensive play, particularly on the defense. That is a very difficult map to play as strategically as Vengeurr did then.
Yeah. He definitely is showing that he's more than just aim. He's definitely got the brains as well. He's got the strategy, the patience to make these maps go his way as we're setting up for the next one.
He has the screen.
Man, I have some... It's like, I remember back when I first saw Vengeurr play at a LAN, his hand is underneath his monitor.
Yeah, that's like
he had like
CS level of...
He had like a centimeter between his finger and his monitor, and I was like, man, if you lift your hand even at half an inch, you're going to bump and knock your monitor onto the floor.
Perfect control, you know?
Perfect control, I guess so, but it was nerve-wracking just watching him over his shoulder. But yeah, absolutely.
So what you expecting coming out of Xron? Would he change anything for this particular map?
I mean, he's going up against the Knicks, so we've seen Knicks do exceptional things today. Just the movement, the ability, there is a lot that favors her. Now, I wouldn't really say that Molten is a map that's
this is a really unusual pick for both of them on this map. And it is definitely a battle of the time shards and the time vials as much as anything, because we know how important they are for both of these champions. But ultimately, it's the traditional conflictual arrangement of the invisibility versus the all-seeing eye of Visor. And it is Vengeurr that gets off to the much better start, using the Ghost Walk offensively to close the gap. He should be able to get a good finishing rail relatively clean. He does eat a rocket, but it doesn't matter. There's a huge gap between the items off the offset, as one of the two, I missed which one, has delayed the heavy.
Yeah. Either way, though, this is back. It's an age-old debate at this point. How do you play against the Nyx when you're Visor? Do you hold on to your piercing sight and use it only when she uses the Ghost Walk to just effectively have a hard counter? But then you might be missing up on so many opportunities.
I am definitely one of the favor to use it strategically. I think, yes, as good as the theory is to only use it when she Ghost Walks, there's so much that has to go into you playing perfectly to force that to happen that it almost nullifies it.
Absolutely.
I would rather use the piercing sight as and when you think it's best to be used in and around the map to deal damage, because then at least you can maintain control, force it out earlier, and as soon as you use it, you also get to use it again because you get used to the time shards.
And it definitely seems to be the approach that Xron is going for as well, because he's been popping it basically the moment that he's had his ability available, so he's definitely not pocketing it to use it the moment that Veng uses the Ghost Walk. Nevertheless, though, Vengeurr currently 2 frags in the lead. Xron now has the better control, has the better rotation on the items. Should be getting himself Mega and making his way over to the Heavy as well. So Vengeurr doesn't even have the Ghost Walk. This is a bad situation for me. He takes a bad rail. Xron, he's pushing in. Good.
Perfect rockets! And the Ghost Walk comes up just in time.
Yeah.
Realizing Vengeurr was going to try and double back for a cheeky rail. He does get out just in time. But this time they are both very, very low, and there is the final blow.
Yeah, man, that was a favorable situation for Vengeurr, that the Ghost Walk came up the exact moment that it did. A fraction of a second later, and that would have 100% been Xron's frag.
But those rockets were insane. I have no idea how he lasted so long in such a tight space.
Yeah.
Ron didn't hit enough, but Vengeurr just bounced him around.
Absolutely. Xron now taking control of the top of the map.
Good use of the tribal.
Oh yeah, that's a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, a full tribal does more than a direct rocket, so that's definitely a weapon to
Good
consider.
luck hitting it, sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, of course, a very situational tool to use, but when you get the distance just right, we saw it earlier, right? Xron just melted his opponent's stack.
The bait each other out. No one really hits any rockets, but Vengeurr definitely comes out on top here. Having both used their cooldowns.
Yeah.
It is a battle for these time shards. Xron is the one that's been using it, or had a lot more uptime overall, though.
Xron setting up for Mega. I think you can kind of expect Vengeurr to be there looking for a rail.
Yeah, Vengeurr, I don't even know if he got the timing, but he should have a rough guesstimate of it. It's painful for Vengeurr, but he's doing a good job of just outmaneuvering Xron at the minute. He can't close him down. It's partly the speed of the Nyx, but ultimately just better positioning from Vengeurr.
Yeah.
Xron needs to make a better job, I feel, of baiting the items. He doesn't need to keep taking them on cooldown. Try and bait them out, try and fall back on them a little bit more.
Hello, that was a surprising 100 damage rocket out of seemingly nowhere, almost going off the map.
Yeah.
Does manage to stay in though, but this next Mega, I don't think Xron wants to contest.
No, he doesn't need to.
Yep, doesn't have the stack for it either. Just gonna break away. Xron now, full control, cycling the
This is
major
such
items.
a stereotypical Nyx display. You don't need the major items if you've got perfect positioning. Once again, he's just backing off. He's only using the Ghost Walk in super defensive situations. Now maybe Xron's got a change of tact. Before he was using the Piercing Sight in those offensive situations, whereas now he might be reserving it because he realizes how desperate he is just to catch Nyx off guard.
Yeah. Mega, again going towards Xron, but he doesn't need items. What he needs is damage and frags.
Oh, and
So far, Vengeurr's been denying him that so nicely.
He knows that Vengeurr doesn't want to commit to any fights. He's just holding these choke points, forced to pop the Piercing Sight just to understand the movements of Vengeurr. I don't think he wanted to do that, because understanding what Vengeur's doing and not committing, he wants to hold on to it again, just to make sure he can secure the kill. Because as we see there, if he's popping it and Vengeurr gets out, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah. Good play from Vengeurr there, though. Using the Ghost Walk perfectly. He just puts himself in a situation where he knows he can escape, kind of tries to hold down the choke point, do damage, and that's the way that he hopes to regain control. He's not phasing himself on the map completely, but he's strategically picking these engagements where he always keeps an exit route ready, but he does have an opportunity to possibly regain control.
I mean, we've been saying all day when people don't make a presence on the map, it's kind of delaying the inevitable, but this is the only exception is when you do have a Nyx.
Yeah.
And it requires such a high level of skill, awareness, patience, mental fortitude to pull off, but if you put it off, it is a masterpiece. And this is what Vengeurr is seeing at the minute. He doesn't feel confident to make a move, but
There we go.
as soon as you get railed now, like, he's so vulnerable.
That's the first rail it feels like he's hit in quite some time. He needs more of those, of course. Nyx not the easiest target to hit. She's a slippery Finn. Definitely not the same as like a huge clutch, but still, Xron, the rail's probably the best way to go.
No, and I just feel that Xron needs to mix up his game. This is when he needs to use it, yes. Vengeurr sticking around, knows he can't run, wants to force out a fight around the corridor, not good enough. Xron pins him down.
Yeah, beautifully played. I think that Xron realized, like, hey, you know what? What if I hang on to my Piercing Sight for a moment?
Yes.
Because I keep forcing it out of him, and then I don't have the ability available. And that turns that around completely. Xron, be careful, though. You're actually being outstacked a bit. Heavy will be going Vengeurr's way.
Well, change of tact from Vengeurr. He manages to do a lot of damage, even though he died. He did a lot of damage, and so instantly, recognizing the potential of his positioning, gets onto that heavy armor. But now Vengeurr, I think, appreciates he can't just run. He needs to get onto major items. That's a good rail, though. The second one, if that hit, might have been he could have pushed him for the kill.
Yep. 2 minutes left on the clock right now. Xron looking for a way back into control. That's a pretty decent rocket. And here we go. We're going to see a replay.
Oh, Vengeurr jumping down a little bit too fast there. Didn't
Yeah.
need to in the end.
Still manages to get out cleanly because Xron missed that final rail. But at this time, Xron has next to no armor to his name. He's in a bad spot. That's an excellent rail, though. He needs to keep hitting those, and he is. This is good for Xron.
Perfect.
Doesn't have rockets, though. He needs to keep that in mind. Oh, yep, click. He didn't keep it in mind.
No, and he has to get out of there.
Yeah.
He needs to make rockets a priority, which he does. But it does cost him any sort of damage on the heavy, meaning this mega now is risky because it's going to be a priority for Vengeurr.
Yeah.
Secures it. Now it's Xron on the run. And at some point, he might need to use that Piercing Sight defensively.
This is the kind of slow-paced game that you very often see when Nyx is involved, right? Because even when you're up against a Visor, you want that information. But Xron, I really like that he's decided to switch that around. You know, you mentioned earlier that you prefer using it for the information, but I feel like in this situation with a minute left on the clock, it's good to hang on to it and use it like in situations like this. This is important matchup. Lands one rail. Can he find another? Vengeurr will live through one more.
Oh, Vengeurr is weak. No, and I agree. It is obviously very circumstantial, and for the most part, I would always favor it, but this is the perfect decision how to use it.
Yeah. 2-2. 30 seconds left. I think it's almost safe to say that whoever gets the next frag will take the map. We might as well be in overtime now.
Vengeurr needs to play very careful. 15 seconds on the Ghost Walk. I don't think Xron knows, but he has located him even though he's on the wrong level. Vengeurr's that will give him information that he knows where he is, and he just needs to get out. Vengeurr's buying time for overtime.
Yep.
That's a good rail though. Yeah, he's not going to stick around.
Vengeurr, I imagine, is going to go back to what he was doing earlier. Try and set up these traps where he keeps an exit route open, try to do the damage and get himself into positioning to reclaim control of the Ghost Hawk.
Rocket!
Whoa! Okay. Yep. Didn't even need to use the Ghost Hawk right there. Just a mid-air rocket will secure him the 2-0. But that was a lot closer than what a 2-0 would suggest.
I mean, that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Like, Xron played incredible. He pushed Vengeurr to the limit. I mean, you saw the respect from Vengeurr. Like, he didn't want to show on the map, and that wasn't what he wanted to do in terms of strategy. That's what Xron was forcing him to do, because he had full control of the items, full control of the vials. Yes, he wasn't hitting all the shots, but he was making sure he was consistently pressuring Vengeurr enough to the point where he didn't want to show on the map.
Yeah, and Vengeurr's first matchup, definitely not an easy one, right? He had to fight for his wins. This was a hard-fought victory in the end. Xron definitely put up a worthwhile fight, but in the end, Vengeurr, Kid Bellissimo, the Italian stallion, coming out on